Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be going over the job abilities that were previewed in the recent job action trailer for Ninja for Final Fantasy XIV's upcoming expansion, Stormblood. Now keep in mind that everything you hear here is subject to change, whether it be numbers or the way that abilities interact with each other, and some of it is of course speculation because we actually didn't get a whole lot of solid information about Ninja itself. So please take anything you hear here with a grain of salt, as any of it can change prior to June 16th when early access begins. That being said, the Ninja job ability trailer was one of my favorite ones to break down because there were a lot of questions about it that just are so different from what we expect or how we expect abilities to interact with each other currently. So let's just break down action by action what actually happens here. Now the first aspect we really need to analyze here are the two job-specific user interfaces. Now the pinwheel looking thing is just your Huton timer. It appears when he uses Huton, and when you eventually see him use Armor Crush, it also goes back up. So we have to assume that those work pretty much entirely the same. The other gauge is the Ninki gauge, as it was called during the live letter number 36, and it's just used to activate certain abilities that are ninja specific. Now that's a very basic part of what we have here, but when you analyze the skills in the order they happen in, there have to be some major changes going on here. So the ninja starts with Huton and then uses Hide, and you're probably thinking to yourself, what the heck is the ninja using Hide for? That is just never a useful skill in Final Fantasy XIV. However, if you notice, less than 10 seconds later, after using Huton, he actually uses Raiton right after that. So in less than 10 seconds, that means one of two things. It means that either ninjutsus have a super short cooldown now and it's only like 10 seconds, or it means that the Hide actually reset his ninjutsu timer. Now, in combat, unless they allow us to actually hide in combat, that doesn't really have any implications. But I imagine the quality of life for dungeons, for example, just going into Hide in between pulls in order to get that ninjutsu reset, making the next pull a little bit more fluid. So the next big point to hit on is Shikuchi. Currently, Shikuchi is a targeted jump where you basically pick a target location and jump to it. It doesn't have any impact damage or anything like that. It's just a mobility spell or ability. In the video, he uses Shikuchi and then uses that Raiton like we mentioned earlier. He then uses their new frog ninjutsu looking thing at the cost of, I believe it's 80 of his Ninki gauge. And then uses Shikuchi again. And it's again a short distance that it's hopping. So there's a few possibilities here. The first possibility is the most obvious one. It's just that Shikuchi's timer is way shorter now, so ninjas are hyper mobile. That would be crazy, and I'm not against it. But considering that two other abilities happen between the Shikuchis, I'm analyzing this the same way I analyzed Hide when he did the second Raiton. I'm still banking on Hide having an effect on the ninjutsus the way I saw it earlier. So it's possible that either the Raiton or ninjutsu use in general allowed him to do another Shikuchi jump, and he just chose to jump a short distance to show that off. Or even the frog, which used 80 Ninki gauge, could have also been a part of that. So it's one of those three, we don't know which one, but if they can do Shikuchis that quick, that's pretty crazy in terms of mobility. So once the ninja jumps into range, he starts using two three-part combos. The first three-part combo he uses is actually Shadow Fang, which from what the footage I remember seeing of live letter number 36, we see, I believe it's Foxclaw or somebody else, actually on their ninja, and you see them use Shadow Fang, and it appears to apply the slashing debuff. So people are saying that Dancing Edge is gone, and that Shadow Fang was moved from a two-part to a three-part, which is somewhat okay. I suppose it consolidates the dot and the slashing, but that's even if it has a dot, because maybe it just does slashing now and it's just Shadow Fang. That'd be kind of weird though, to have no dot on Shadow Fang, so I'm going to assume it has both effects for the time being, but again, that's subject to change. Another thing is that when the ninja uses Mug, the Ninki gauge jumps up a ton. I believe the number we see it jump up is 30. Obviously, the point I'm recording in and the point I'm talking to are very different. Yeah, it jumps up 30, and that's, you know, a lot of Ninki generation. So using Mug correctly to get your Ninki rotations down may be another important factor. We see the other three-part combo that he uses is Armor Crush, and it still extends Huton's duration, so we have to assume that for the moment that's exactly the same. But the final thing that happens in this video is the thing that people are talking about the most. And for now, people are just calling it Ninja Ley Lines, because that's exactly what it looks like. So at the cost of 80 of the Ninki gauge, you see this ninja throw down a Ley Lines type circle, or square, or whatever it is. And then they use a Mudra, and then a Ninjutsu, a mudra, then a ninjutsu, and a mudra, and then a ninjutsu. So they basically do 3 chain ninjutsus back to back with each other, which looks crazy, but I had some people dig into the combinations that were actually used here to confirm my theory, and I think I have a pretty solid theory about how this works. So I think the first most obvious effect this probably has is that it takes your ninjutsu cooldown from 20 seconds down to instant. If that's not the case, then something else is going on. It's crazy. I think we just have to assume that for the time being. The next big thing, and this is a big part of my theory, is the way that your mudras interact within that little ninja square, ley line square. So the first one that the ninja actually uses is chi. And then chi on its own, any one of the 3 mudras on their own does a Fuma Shuriken. So he does chi and then Fuma Shuriken. He then does ten and then does a katan. Now we made sure of this, and I'm looking at the ninjutsu action combinations right now just to make sure. And chi, then 10 is indeed a combination that makes katan. So if he did chi first and then did 10, even though he did the Fuma between, it's like it's memorizing his mudra combinations and letting him go through a 1, 2, 3. Because then the final action is Jin, and that causes him to use a Suiton. So all of those actions line up with one another. So it looks like it's like a chain spell ninjutsu thing, and then it lets you go through like a 1, 2, and a 3 while memorizing your mudras in their locations. If it works, like, that's what it looks like. It could do something completely different. That's actually really friggin' cool if you ask me. At the cost of 80 of your Ninki gauge, I just wonder how that works, like, in conjunction with your global cooldown, because can you then choose to do a global cooldown between each of these ninjutsus? Do you still have to do them back to back to back like it's shown in the video? It's not made abundantly clear, but in my opinion, that is one of the coolest abilities I've had to break down in these little ability breakdown things, because if it works like that, I can't even begin to think of how that, you know, how does it function with Kasatsu then? Because Kasatsu resets your cooldown immediately. Would you do these and then Kasatsu, or would you want to Kasatsu one of these? Would you want to Kasatsu beforehand? And then what about the other combinations? Because I'm looking at like Doton's combination, that's Jin Ten Chi or Ten Jin Chi. What can you possibly accomplish with that? Because I mean, Hyoton, Raiton, and Katan are the 2 big ones. And I think Ten Chi Jin is another Suiton combination. Yeah, so could they have done 10 Fuma, Chi, Raiton, Jin, Suiton? Like, imagine that. Fuma, Raiton, Suiton, all back to back. But that would mean that you're ending with a trick attack. So wouldn't you theoretically want the Suiton first? So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's all these implications here. And then maybe, I don't know. I'm going to stop trying to figure out how it's going to work, because I don't even know if I'm right about how it works. But that's pretty crazy, if you ask me. I loved actually analyzing that and trying to figure out what it was doing, and I think that's the theory we're landing on here. So that's all I got on Ninja. Let me know what you guys think about what you're seeing here in the Ninja Job Action trailer. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more breakdowns, analysis, all that kind of stuff on all the different job actions from the Job Action trailer and live letter number 36. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.